Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Forum YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux. Producer Bobby pulling the strings on this one as we get you ready for a race preview of the Grade 3 Poker. That's going to be on Thursday at Saratoga at the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. But we want to remind all of you that we have big packages right now for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. You can get all 5 days of the racing festival along with Clocker reports, or if you just want to play that Saturday Belmont Stakes Day, Clocker reports, past performances, betting strategies, and the player's guide. Check that out. You can get more than a 50% savings when you bundle them all together at shop.drf.com. Ashley, I'm going to see if you can read my poker face in here as we get ready to go a mile, 300,000 up for grabs in this one, Grade 3 event. I thought that cameo performance and Major Dude, probably two of the more accomplished horses in this race. But the way the race shapes up, I thought was fascinating because on paper, it does look like you have two kind of speed horses with Filo di Arianna and Donegal Momentum. Either one of those horses could win with the right trip. But if they both go, then it sets up for horses off the pace. You got a really sharp horse like Sherlock's Jewel right now, who just feels like a shug horse, like a horse that's developing at the right time. He's being really patient with this horse. Just expect Sherlock's Jewel to run a good race too. But this was an interesting group.
It is. And obviously the outside two in here are main track only horses, right? But I think when you look at the body of eight, maybe one or two horses would quote unquote shock me if they won, but I don't think it would be major shock. I don't think it would be jaw dropping. I think there is form from just about everyone in here that if you go back, whether it's last time out, you go 3 or 4 back, you can make your case for. And you mentioned Major Dude and cameo performance. Yeah, I agree with you. And obviously there are shorter prices on the morning line, but Major Dude, what sort of price do you want on him? Looking at those last 3, they're not trips
Not a
to the
short
winner's
one.
circle. He's been short. Exactly. So that's a little bit of a question mark. And cameo performance obviously has been in some very tough spots. Maybe didn't love Kentucky Downs. Maybe found the Grade 1 event last time out to be too tough. But this is probably a better spot for that one.
Take a look at the pace projector and see how Timeform US thinks this race shapes up. And yeah, this is sort of how it looks on paper, where you have Filo di Arianna really quick. He's actually stretching out from 5.5 furlongs, and then you have Donegal Momentum. He's really quick. Both of them can sit a little bit if they have to, but they just seem to do their best running on the front end.
Yeah, I think Cassie's horse is going. There's no doubt about it based on what we've seen. And that's how the King Edward worked out into his advantage. And now he's a 9-year-old, so we'll see if he's ready to roll. But second last time out behind Patches O'Houlihan. You talked about the 8. And just a note here, there's 2 LP flags. The 2 in here, Intellect has the LP flag, was rolling last time out at the mile in a 16th event that was won by Hershey. And then you can see the 7 as well in here. Depiction, a deep closer. And sometimes I think he gets the right pace, but it's just not been enough real estate for him.
Let's meet the field for the Grade 3 Poker. We'll start things out with Cameo Performance, who ran really well in the first start of the year at Fairgrounds a couple starts back, finished third that day. Then in the Turf Classic, you were kind of hitting on a couple of the possible excuses, right? Maybe it was too tough of company, had a fine start, was taken back, was kind of wide, and made this big move, like a 5-wide move all the way up, and was right on even terms, and then just tired. It probably was moving too early, moving wide, facing tough company. It's sort of funny that he ran the same exact Beyer speed figure in his last 2 races, right? And one of those resulted in a near win when finishing third. But then against tougher company, that same effort only resulted in an 8th place finish. This is just a lot better spot for him. I think third start off the bench, third start of the form cycle, saving ground on the inside. I probably don't want to play him as a short price in a competitive race, but I'm thinking he's going to be coming rolling late, and he's probably the one they'll all have to hold off.
I think so too. And I know he's a closer, but he's not necessarily a deep closer. He was last time we saw him when he won, right? But it was a shorter field. I think when he's been in these big fields, which have been 12, 10 horses, he's mid-pack, maybe a little worse off than mid-pack in those races. And my only question about him is he a little bit better with Lasix? That would be the one thing that I would throw out there. He's still run well off of Lasix. I'm not discrediting him. And obviously we talked about it. Could be that he just found the waters too deep last time out. But it is something that I'm a little bit mindful of, and I think there's a ton of ability. And obviously this is a good spot. We can't forget, he is regrouping. He's cutting back in distance to a mile.
Intellect was making his first start in the US on April the 24th. It was a pretty good effort. We have a replay of this one. Intellect ends up finishing third in the race, and Depiction, who's also in there, ends up finishing fourth. And they both have to come from way out of it, Ashley. They ran well in there, but that would be my concern with them in a race like this and just moving forward. While I respect their ability and I think they will come closing a lot of the time, you kind of hit the nail on the head with Depiction. Depiction comes so far out of it early on, and Intellect, the only race we've seen from him, came from way out of it. Now, he did show more early speed before coming to the US, so maybe of the two of them, we could possibly see Intellect being closer early and not as far back. What'd you think of those two horses that come out of that allowance race at Keeneland?
Yeah, they're somewhat hard to, I guess, separate in some ways. I think Intellect maybe has the upside since we've only seen him stateside once. And when you look at Depiction, we sort of know what we're getting. And I think I would agree with your assessment. I think Intellect could be a little bit closer. I think out of the two would likely be more closer to it. I think Flavian probably learned a lot about this horse. Chad Brown did as well. You have to remember the horse had a year off. It's a long time to have a year off and be sitting. And obviously there's, the question mark about when did he come over, and you start to look at the works. He's been here for a while. As you go back and look at the workout tab, at least since November, in terms of the published drills of November of 2024. So I think this horse is very talented. And obviously if you're bringing this one from overseas, the connections think the same.
If you haven't been watching or played a whole lot of Woodbine the last few years, you probably don't know Filo di Arianna all that well, but this is a really cool horse. This is a multiple graded stakes winner who's now a 9-year-old who's going to make the second start back after not racing from September through May and stretching out from 5.5 to a mile. This horse is the one to catch, or at least one of the top two who will be in the mix early. You just look 2 years ago, Ashley. This horse ran a bang-up race in the poker, finishing second behind Emmanuel, throwing up 100 Beyer speed figure. So when he shows up with a good effort, or when he catches the right field, he is capable of winning races like this, and this is a good spot for him.
He can win, too, at a variety of distances. He shows up. Turf, synthetic doesn't really matter. And you mentioned it. Last year, very good performance in the King Edward. He's the runner-up in the Woodbine Mile, which I guess unfortunately for him means he didn't get the kind of win in your into the Breeders' Cup, but his stablemate win for the money did. Speed is the name of the game. He'll go to the front and he'll see how quick he can go and probably see if he can stay in front. But, he's a game horse as well. If you watch the King Edward, he really was fighting in there.
Major Dude has been a little disappointing in his last couple of races, actually, because just from a buyer standpoint, there was like 6 or 7 races in a row where it was 95 through 97, almost like clockwork. You knew exactly what you were going to get from him every time out. And then in his last 2 races, it's not like they've been awful, but it's just not as good as what he was running before. And with the connections, they're always going to take money. He's always going to get bet. He's had a little bit of trouble kind of getting himself into the races early. Like, he wasn't slow earlier on in his career, and last year he was a lot more tactical. His last couple of races, he's had a tougher time getting involved. So while I can certainly make excuses for those races, I just wanted to see a little bit more from him in there, and I'm expecting him to get bet in here again.
Yeah, you wanted to see a little bit more from him. Story of my life. This was my pick in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf back in 2022. So that tells you how I feel about him. He is such a cool horse and he shows up, but for me, he's just such a tough horse to endorse on top because I feel like I've seen the same thing from him so many times. And I feel like that's probably frustrating for the connections, right? He is talented. He can show up, but I don't know what makes the difference. I think the good thing that he has for him, he is a handy horse. He can close from off of it. He can be closer. I think out of those two, though, Gino, he wants to be a little bit closer, maybe a mid-pack trip, even a little, more towards the front than that. But I see him being mid-pack in here.
I think you were kind of hitting what I was thinking. Like, he's fine. He can certainly win this race. I feel like there's just others that have more upside. We haven't seen the best from them yet, and we've probably seen the best from him, which is still good enough to win this right now. If he came back with like a B+ or an A- effort, we'll see which one we get from Major Dude. Mischievous Angel is another one of these horses that you're going to see a lot this week, where you look at his body of work overall. You can't really knock a whole lot of what he's done, but he's stepping up now. He's facing a tougher group. So this is going to be an acid test for him, Ashley. What do you think about Mischievous Angel?
Sort of like this horse at a price isn't going to necessarily make my top 4, but I think this is a horse that liked the stretch out to a mile last time out at Laurel. And you go, okay, it was just $100,000 stakes race. But a lot of these horses aimed for races at Pimlico on Preakness weekend.
Yep.
Neat was involved, right? And Neat had issues in the dinner party, but Signator was entered in that spot. They opted for something else. That was kind of the common theme where Connections decided we're going to wait. We're all going to regroup and go to Pimlico. And for some of them, it just didn't work out well. But I wouldn't sleep on this horse. You have to wonder what sort of trip this one's going to get. And maybe similarly to Major Dude, a mid-pack trip is going to work. And I think probably Paco learned something last time out climbing a board for the first time.
The number 6, Sherlock's Jewel, has won back-to-back races, both going a mile on the turf for trainer Shug McGahee. I believe we have a replay of the last effort from Sherlock's Jewel where he was able to run down Donegal Momentum. So Sherlock's Jewel is the 6 in the race we're watching. Donegal Momentum is the 1. Donegal Momentum is able to put away the other pace right at this point of the race, but can't hold off Sherlock's Jewel, who just when you look at horses and knowing the way that the trainer Shug McGahee is, he's so patient. And you see horses just like this that just start to develop and they string wins together. Looked like there were 2 races last year in 2024 where this horse was on the dirt and he just didn't fire. I think you just put a line through those 2 races and you look at the other races around them. They're all really good. You have a runner-up effort behind Skippy Longstocking in the Challenger back in early 2024. You have him winning a race on the dirt, like a non-winners of 2. And then the 2 turf races this year have both been really good. So I'm just willing to look at those races in June and July of 2024, eliminate them. I think if they go quick, this is a horse who is developing at the right time. He can come and run them all down. I just don't have very many knocks on him. My only concern would just be he's not the type of horse who necessarily makes his own trip. And if one of the 3 or the 8 were to sneak away, he would probably have a tough time running them down. But if those 2 pressure each other, this horse should come running.
And he's gotten a decent pace in those last 2. Obviously, it was a short field last time out just with 4 other competitors. But kind of agree with your sentiments on his running style. I think he's intriguing. I think also kudos to Shug because Shug is someone that will say, okay, we start on the turf, we go to the dirt. And if it doesn't work out, in this case, it did work out. But if it doesn't, he will give them another try or 2 on the dirt before having to flip-flop surfaces. And obviously, they were happy with what they saw on the dirt. Form started to go a little bit backwards in the Salvatore Mile and the following start. So not only did they give him plenty of time off, they went back to the grass. And his grass numbers now are just better than anything we've really seen, right? They don't tower over those dirt races, but a horse that seems to be getting better with age. And he's a 5-year-old. He's been racing since that 2-year-old season. We haven't seen him a ton, just 14 starts, but I think he's finally getting into form.
Number 7 is Depiction. He's grade 3 placed. We actually saw him come running late in that replay when he was right behind Intellect. So Depiction, let me give you a positive. He's going to make just his 2nd start now as a 4-year-old. So there is some real upside to this horse. Like he is on the improve. The counter would just be his lack of speed hurts him so much. It puts him in such a tough spot, Ashley. I mean, he was 11th of 12, double-digit lengths behind. He had to work through some traffic, but he really got going late, and that's always going to be my concern with him. Like, he's going to have to deal with traffic. He's going to be at the mercy of the race shape. He's going to need some racing luck pretty much every time he goes out there.
Yeah, he's a cool horse, though. Got a wicked late turn of foot and really respect him. It's just that his running style, I think, gets him into trouble. I will say, though, he seems to be a fairly fast work horse in the morning. That last work, though, is on a different level, 56 and 4. So it makes me wonder a little bit if they've tried anything different with him. And I don't know how aggressive you can be with him, but maybe they will try something to get him more involved early. I'm not saying he's going to go to the lead or anything like that, but maybe he won't be last or second from last in here.
You'd feel good if he was just mid-pack, right? Yeah. If he just didn't have to pass every horse in the race if you backed him. So yeah, maybe looking at the works and maybe you could read into that they'll try to get him involved in this race just a little more early on. We round things out in the body of the field with Donegal Momentum. Stakes winner, grade 1 placed. I didn't really love his last trip, Ashley. We saw him finishing 2nd, and a lot of it was early in the race. He was down inside, and it was in a contested, quick, early, like first furlong or so. Then stretched out to then he kind of was able to get out to the 2 path, but he wanted to go again. Like he just didn't really settle very much. My counter to that would be he has settled before. So I'm hoping it was just like a 1 race thing where he was just having a tough time, because when you look at his races, like 3 starts back at Fairgrounds, that type of trip I would love to see in here. Can he sit 3rd? A length or 2 off, or maybe just sit 2nd, just behind Filio di Arianna. if one of the two of them can sit off the other, both of those horses will have, I think, a pretty good chance on the front end. But if they battle with each other, they could be they could be, a big enemy and a big nuisance to one another. What do you think about Donegal momentum here?
I think for starting point, Tom Worley's done a really good job with this colt and spotting his races. Obviously, the Gio gave them confidence last year. Went for the Grade 1 Hollywood Derby. And now you look at that race, you look at the runner-up, who was how far in front of him? Not very far in front of him when it was all said and done. King of Godsford just came back a couple days ago to win a Grade 1 event. So it sort of tells you, I think, Donegal momentum has the caliber to face tough competition. And I agree with you. I think in terms of trip, don't send him to the lead, but have him be comfortable and forward enough from the gate. He draws the outside, in here, which probably allows him to do that. And Javier knows him very well. So I think if he's near 5-1, he's pretty intriguing in here.
The last two are entered for main track only. So, Ashley, as we move to selections, you were kind of hitting on my thoughts and why I put Donegal momentum on top. I'm hoping he can sit from the outside. I love what Morley's done with him. And even if you're looking at his speed figures and thinking they might be a little light, you just hit the nail on the head with King of Gosford and some of the company this horse was facing last year. So if I know those horses and I know that they're Grade 1 types, right, I think he could be a little bit better than his buyer speed figures might suggest. So love to see him sit a trip from the outside in here. But you're going to go to the horse who ran him down. And I put Sherlock's Jewel in third. If they go quick, this horse could absolutely come running.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. We're both throwing out Major Dude completely and just, wiping him out of our top 4. And our top 3 are just sort of reversed, right? Here you go 8-1-6, I go 6-1-8. Just Sherlock's Jewel. I'm excited to see him finally tested on the turf. I know he did race in the Jersey Derby, but different story when you're 3 years old. Now he's a 5-year-old. His turf form is very good. You mentioned he finished in front of Donegal momentum. I think the one concern is the trip. I liked the mid-pack trip last time out. I don't want to see him, towards the back in here with this field not being huge, right? 8 runners in here. I don't want to see him last.
So as we finish up with Thursday, we wish you all the best of luck and remind you we have so much help for you on the YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. We'll have help for you on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the big days of racing at the Saratoga races, the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. So Ashley, good luck to you on Thursday. Good luck to everyone playing the races in the poker.